Thank you, Anurag, and good morning to everybody who is on this call. I hope everyone is hale and healthy in spite of this very difficult times and unprecedented times that we are experiencing. And all of you are also practicing the COVID-19 safeguards. Anurag, it is indeed a privilege to always participate in your education panel because you bring to surface very, very important questions that all of us have to address. After all, we are a country of 1.3 billion people. We have 1.4 million schools in our country. We have 10,500 engineering and related institutions. We have 39,000 colleges, and we have 150 million young students who are going to be entering into the workplace. And the future of our country of 1.3 billion people is dependent on the direction in which these 150 million young students are going to take us. So the destiny of the country is in their hands. And education is a very important part because without education, there cannot be the ability to take on new jobs that are going to come during the COVID-19 and post-COVID-19 crisis. And without education, you cannot aspire to become innovators, you cannot aspire to become entrepreneurs, and you cannot aspire to become job creators. And the Atal Innovation Mission was formed by the Prime Minister, as you are all aware, to focus on exactly that. How do you create an ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship that's going to launch thousands of job creators and not just job seekers? Because if you want to carry 1.3 billion people forward, the existing companies are not going to be able to meet the demand, and you need millions of new job creators. And so these Atal Innovation Mission has launched in a very holistic manner. How do you bring the capabilities of innovation and entrepreneurship to the fore at the schools, at the universities, in the industry, in various states, in various districts, and at a national level? And the COVID-19 crisis has very starkly thrown a couple of, of course, there are very important challenges which it has thrown. We have never experienced this sort of lockdown before. We have experienced some emergencies in previous years, but never in the history of mankind has this sort of lockdown for not just a couple of weeks, but for months happened, and we are all locked down at home, and we are all wondering what is next in store for all of us. But at the same time, I was just imagining 10 years ago, if such a situation had happened, we would be in a completely different situation than what we are in. We are still today able to move forward with essential services because of the tremendous advances that technology has made and the impact that technology has had, especially digital transformation. And it is because of this that today we are conversing with a whole lot of people on your channel, as well as on Facebook and other social media, and be able to deliberate on subjects and still keep the economy moving, essential services happening. So the COVID-19 has dramatically shown the impact of digital transformations on every aspect of our life, whether it is supply chain management, whether it is agriculture, whether it is transportation, and so on and so forth. It has had an impact, and it is creating a new world order. And in order to meet this new world order and the new challenges that are out there, education is very important. And it has also shown how important digital connectivity and transformation has been. This has been evident very strongly in Atal Innovation Mission. As you are aware, we have launched more than 5,000 Atal Tinkering Labs across the country so that our young children get familiar with the latest of technologies, digital technologies, whether it is IoT, miniaturized electronics, augmented virtual reality, do-it-yourself kits, cloud services, and so on. And the idea is that our children should be familiar with the latest tools and technologies using which they acquire a problem-solving innovative mindset, and using which we become a nation of job creators and job innovators. When these students go to the university, they have world-class incubators where they can foster startups and new opportunities. And when they go into the industry, they're able to carry their entrepreneurial innovative thinking into boosting the industry's output economy and so on. Now, in order for us to be able to, in the last 60 days, keep the things moving, because imagine all the schools are shut and everybody is at home. But what came to our rescue was online digital education. And today we have launched 5 modules, Tinker from Home modules, to the 2.5 million students who are out there and who are accessing it through the internet or through the mobile technologies that is available. We are very fortunate in our country that we have done excellent connectivity to various parts of the country. We have 733 districts, as you're aware. We have 600,000 villages. But the beauty is our adult tinkering labs have been installed in more than 660 districts across the country, whether it is rural, hilly districts, and so on. And the students from all of these places are responding beautifully to these online learning modules that have been launched. We launched 5 modules in the last 60 days. One was on artificial intelligence. We want our young students to become familiar with artificial intelligence, because everything that is happening in the future is going to have an element of IoT, artificial intelligence, and all of that. Second is we launched on game development. We said, how do you make education interesting? Now, everyone plays games. You and I also play game, and the students play game. But what we did was we launched 2 modules, a beginner's module and an more advanced module on how do you create video games? How do you create computer games? So to transition a young student from being just a game player to a game maker. And in that process, you learn a whole lot of other skills, creativity skills, designing skills, storytelling skills, communication skills, algorithmic skills, and at the same time, learning tools, using tools which are accessible on the cloud and on the web. The third module we launched was 3D design using CollabCAD. This is a tool so that you can start doing 3D printing artifacts. Now, every Atal Tinkering Lab has 3D printers. So this was the time for us to make them ready. How do you go about using a 3D printer? How do you design using 3D printers and so on? So these tools are helping them. And the fourth is, along with Adobe, we launched what are known as Digital Creativity and Skills School training program. Now this we introduce for not only the school children, but also for the teachers and the mentors, because it is important for them to keep abreast of the latest technologies and the latest educational mechanisms that are available. And finally, we have launched challenges leveraging all of this. And the beauty of it is
hackathons to solve real life issues.
Yeah, to solve real life problems. And we said, can you solve any community problem, rural problem, problems that you see in your community using all of this knowledge? And we launched a challenge, and we have got more than 3,000 responses for this. Actual innovations which have been created during this lockdown time. And some of the children have created masks, some of them have created personal protective equipment. Many children have designed sensor technology-based contactless surfaces. So if you come to a home and instead of ringing a bell, it senses that you're there in front of the bell. There is a camera also which senses it, and automatically the bell rings in the house without you having to press the bell. Similarly for the lifts that we are operating and so on and so forth. It is amazing what the children have come up with. Some of the children have designed contact tracing solutions for hospitals, so that anybody who goes to the hospital is automatically traced. Now, the Prime Minister very, very beautifully brought this out in that in the 20 lakh crore package that he said, the 5 pillars on which we are going to build our country back or acquire prominence in the world. The first is leveraging the demographic dividend that he talked about, 65% of our country under 35 years old. But how do we do that? It is through digital education. Not only at a school level, but at the university level, at the industry level, everybody has to launch on digital education as a mechanism of being able to reach across and them acquiring new skills. And it has become affordable. Second pillar, he said, is you need to improve the infrastructure. Unless you set up the infrastructure, and it is not just physical infrastructure that we are talking about, we need to set the digital infrastructure across the country. We have 5G technology which is coming up, which is going to enable massive amounts of transfer of data and so on and so forth. So you have to set up the physical as well as the digital infrastructure, the digital highways for us to
be a hybrid model.
Yeah. The third pillar he talked about was the demand. We have a demand, huge demand. Baiju is a great example of how an unfulfilled demand of tutorials from grade 1 to grade 12 can be met through online materials. The fourth pillar that he talked about was technology. Technology has become available, affordable, accessible, and advanced. So how do you leverage all these technologies for the purposes of digital education, digital assessments, digital certifications, digital tutorials, and so on? And technology can play, Anurag, a great role in creating platforms for livelihood creation. You see, the new world order is going to be personalized education. Supposing I want to become an artist, I want a set of people who can leverage the digital platform to show me how I can become an artist. If I want to become a craftsperson, or if I want to be an ITI plumber, and so on and so forth, digital education can reach across anywhere and you can actually create livelihoods. You want to become a dancer, a singer, you see how Indian Idol has become popular. You see on the video YouTube sessions where people are having online tutorials for dancing, Bollywood dancing and so on. So there's a whole lot of new entrepreneurial opportunities that comes by leveraging edtech, and edtech startups are going to be in high demand. And finally, our economy can grow only if there is a uniform development across the country. So what we need are community innovation centers where instead of the urban migration that we are having to 7 tier 1 cities or 8 tier 1 cities, how do we use the 100 smart cities for becoming hubs of job innovation, job creation, entrepreneurship, and also have access to the finest healthcare, telemedicine, education. In all of this, digital education is going to play a very important role. So with that, I stop for now. But I think we are at a watershed moment in our history where a digital revolution in education and many other verticals is going to play an important role in creating a new world order, a new world economy. So there are 5 points which you had raised, 4 points earlier and 1 point additionally now, and I'm going to try to answer that. First, you asked about what is the impact of physical space. Is digital education going to replace physical space? And the answer clearly is no. There is digital education required for us to be able to do online training, online materials, video sessions, and so on and so forth. But you still cannot take away the need for physical space, whether it is a physics lab, a chemistry lab, a biology lab, or a tinkering lab, because these are places where you actually see your learnings translate into real products, real innovations, and so on. So you're going to create a blended learning approach where digital is going to be maybe 70% or even 75%, but you will need that 25% access to physical infrastructure in order to complete this whole education stuff. The second point that I want to share is, what is going to be the role of corporates? I mean, corporates are going to play a very important role in this entire digital education. Why? Because first, they themselves will have to adopt it for their own stuff. You are going to constantly want to have latest of tools, technology, knowledge. With the world changing so much in technology, you're going to have that. And how are you going to transmit all these skills? A company like the Tata Group or the Birla Group and so on, they need to introduce digital education on a mass way, encourage, further graduation from universities and so on. Already Georgia Tech, Harvard Business School, they've all launched online programs. In fact, I was pleasantly surprised to see that there is an online entrepreneurship program that has been launched in Harvard Business School by Tarun Khanna on entrepreneurship. And he sent me a mail to that saying, everybody from India can log on free to it. It is a 6-week entrepreneurship program. At the end of it, if the certification is required, there is a payment for that, which is the fees and by which the programs are funded. So you're going to have corporates to play a very important role in digital education. Already Atal Innovation Mission has more than 50 corporate partners supporting us on our Atal Tinkering Lab initiatives, right? The third part that you mentioned was the digital divide. And I want to come to this. The problem is not of internet access today in almost any district. You can have internet access. The problem are, do you have enough smartphones? Do you have cost affordable laptops? How do you ensure that every student is able to access the internet? And I think this is where EdTech organizations are going to play a very big role in innovation. How do I create an affordable laptop which can be given to every student of every class? I mean, today, instead of books, you have to give them a laptop. You have to give them a digital device through which they are able to access all their materials. Why do you need physical books? So how do you ensure an affordable laptop? Second is, you're going to see massive influx of 5G technologies, which is going to enable distance learning and make high quality access to tutorials, to learnings, to interactive sessions, to collaborations, and so on. Third is, you're going to see augmented virtual reality, which is going to play a very important role, because where you have a lack of physical labs, where you have a lack of actual infrastructure, you are able to leverage augmented virtual reality and actually see a 3D picture of a human body. You want to study the brain, you want to study the stomach, you want to study the circulation system. Everything is going to be through an augmented virtual reality, is going to play a very important role. The fourth is, you have to use satellite technology. You'll see satellite technologies coming. I mean, what is now available to everybody? What is available to everybody is a TV. Even in the poorest of houses, there is one TV. How do you use the television as a digital interactive medium through set-top boxes? You connect through a cheap set-top box. You leverage satellite technology, which is accessible everywhere, and you should have innovations coming. So I am very sure in the next 4 or 5 years, you're going to see a massive influx of innovation technologies, hardware technologies, and software technologies, which is going to play a big role in digital education and digital transformation. And the question you talked about artificial intelligence and job creation, how are we going to ensure, is artificial intelligence going to take away jobs, or is it going to create more jobs? From my point of view, actually, it's going to create more jobs.
What are the new skills where jobs will get created? And Manishji will possibly address that.
So the 21st century skills are going to be very different. You're going to, for example, you will have to know a whole lot of digital skills, whether it is the word processor, whether it is the Excel spreadsheet, whether it is, if you are giving support, tech support is going to become a new skill that is going to be required, because a lot of people will be providing tech support, whether it is call support, IVR support, and so on. Back office systems, which will enable a video conferencing to run. You need to acquire those skills. How do you configure a video conference connecting 10 people? That's a new skill that has to be developed. A new skill that will be developed is 3D printing. How are you going to use 3D printing for the MSME industry? Every MSME has a great golden opportunity of becoming a local manufacturer of component. And we need component technology. We are importing big time electronics and other equipment, which is not necessary. It can all be made in India, and 3D printing can revolutionize that. Another thing which is going to be of massive importance is communication skills. Marketing, digital marketing skills have to be there by everybody, because you're going to market your product, your service to the rest of the world through the digital medium. Why restrict it to your village or your city? Why not reach across to the world for your product, for your service? If you're in a tribal district, you have a tribal handicraft, it can reach to the other end of the world using digital marketing and digital communication. You're going to have, you'll need very fundamental skills related to, e-commerce. You should know how to set up your own, operate your own ERP system. The Kirana store will need to know how to operate his inventory management using technology. And then how do you connect to the supply chain management, and how do you do digital payments, and how do you do digitally enabled service delivery? Look at, if I have an integrated ERP, supply chain management, and a payment system for a Kirana store, which is a cloud-based service, these skills have to be learned by the Kirana store people. The guy who's delivering should know how to use my mobile technology to be able to say what is the next delivery stop, or where is the next pickup stop that I have to have. You need to be familiar with all the usage of technology as much as the ability to create those technologies. So you take every vertical, Anurag, you take telemedicine. If you're going to enable telemedicine, all the nurses will need to know how to use telemedicine and how to communicate using all the technologies, the x-rays, the readings, and so on, to a medical hub where they can get advice. And the doctors will need to know how to use all that system. I know they can't say to the secretary that use it, and that person also doesn't know how to use it. So you will need people at various levels to acquire many skills. And these are the 21st century skills which will be required. So you're going to create, and you need data scientists, for example, to analyze data and take decision support system. So mathematics, I personally feel that every field that we were talking about and neglecting in India, we were all concentrating on IT. But if you want sensor technologies to get integrated in civil engineering and medical engineering and transportation, in agriculture, in biotech, all of this is required. And if you don't acquire these skills, you will be out. So these skills will become very relevant, and they will actually help close the digital divide rather than increase the digital divide. What I would say is, Anurag, that the COVID-19 crisis especially is going to accelerate in a very big way, and it's going to catalyze digital transformation in education. And digital education is going to permeate every aspect of education, whether it be in schools, universities, industry, or NGOs, or whatever. Okay. The second thing that I believe is going to happen is you are going to have digital education with a complete focus on job enablement and entrepreneurship and innovation happening, because those are the skills needed for the day. The 21st century skills, which is going to stimulate livelihood creation, entrepreneurship on a mass level. We are going to go into a creator economy rather than just a production economy or a manufacturing economy or a financially driven economy. It's going to be a creator economy where you're going to be able, personalized creation of jobs is going to be possible. Personalized creation of livelihood is going to be possible because of the permeation of digital medium, and digital education is going to play a very important role. And finally, I think in the next 12 months, you're going to see, there is no better time than for education tech startups to seize this moment and see how you can transform the educational sector to have a combination of blended learning as well as online learning, because that is going to be important if you really want great innovators and job creators to come out in the future.